Good. So, welcome to the London Buddhist Centre. It's a Tuesday evening, and we will be having a practice night, continuing our series on meditation through ethics, meditation, and wisdom. So tonight, Mahamani will be giving us the final bombshell talk on insubstantiality. So I'm looking forward to that. Do say hello. Do post and chat a hello and where you're from. It's good. Always good to know that. And then I can say hello back to you. So to say that I'm here with Mahamani and Jahit. My name, as I probably said, is Jnana Daya. 7 people. Yeah, good. So we've got 7 people. The Magnificent 7. So yeah, very warm welcome. It is actually quite warm in here too. But
so Stephen
good.
Is here.
Hi, Stephen. Do we know where Stephen's from?
He's in Ireland.
Ireland. I think
Dundalk, I think it is.
Dundalk.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I probably mispronounced that, but
I definitely mispronounced.
yeah. Hi, Stephen. I wonder. I think you've been to this class previously as well. So yeah, just maybe start to get yourself comfortable and ready. I'll say something about the previous weeks and particularly review last week's. Actually, a few more things I've thought about. I talked about dukkha last week, so I want to just recap that, and then we'll do a meditation, and then Mahamani will give her talk. And then we'll have a little break and have a longer a guided meditation from Mahamani, and then Q&A at the end. But I'll repeat that.
Got Julie from Essex.
Julie from Essex. Hello, Julie from Essex. Nice to have you here. Do we know where in Essex Julie's from?
So is it Paglisham?
Paglisham. Oh yeah, yes. I think I remember. Do you remember? I think Julie's been on the morning meditations. It rings a bell. I don't know whether you're familiar with. I might be wrong, Julie, but I seem to remember.
Not everybody's names just yet.
Yeah, yes. Mahamani's been doing the morning meditations this week.
Got Nina from New York.
Nina from New York. Hello, welcome. Yeah, Mahamani knows you, so very, very warm welcome to you, Nina. It's quite nice to have a. I don't really know New York, but it's quite nice to remember what I do remember from New York, which isn't. I think it's the Museum of Modern Art is the main thing that stands out, and the Picassos.
From Essex as well.
Veronica from Essex. Hi. Yep. I think that rings a bell as well, Veronica. And where from in Essex? Do we know?
Rochford.
Oh yeah, Rochford. Oh yes. I think we've had conversation about where Rochford was before, but Jai's looking at me in a sort of very bemused way.
I was waiting to hear where Rochford is.
Rochford in Essex. I don't know exactly Essex, but I think we kind of got it wrong. We got the wrong county previously, and this is probably not very interesting to many people. But yeah, good.
So there are 16 people here now.
Great. Good. So 16 is the age of reputed age of the kind of bodhisattvas. They're sort of depicted as 16-year-old men or women. Like it's the prime. I think it's when people in India anyway, their sort of physical peak, they're most beautiful.
We've got Debbie from West Wales.
Hi, Debbie from West Wales. So we've got quite a variety of locations: Ireland, Wales, New York, Essex. More too. Good. We'll be starting fairly shortly. So it's very nice to have Jahit here. Jahit's been on the tech team for the whole of this series, so it's good to have him setting up and reading out what needs to be read out. Good. I think I'm going to start the evening at 7 o'clock. So just to recap what we've been up to. So this is the 5th week of 5. We started 5 weeks ago with Stiramanas talking about how your life affects your meditation, and particularly talking about ethics and one's sense of conscience about one's actions. And then I gave a talk on how meditation affects your life. Strange, I can't remember too much about that right now, but I did. And then Shradagita talked, I think, about impermanence. So she gave a very nice talk on impermanence the following week. And then last week, I took up the teaching again with reflection on dukkha. And then, as I said, this week Mahamani will be rounding it all up with meditations, reflections, talk on anatta, on insubstantiality, which is I'm very much looking forward to. It's not an easy thing to talk about, teach, I don't think. So I'm very confident that she will come up with something good. So I am looking forward to it. Good. I just wanted to kind of recap last week on dukkha briefly before we have we'll do a metta bhavana. We'll do about a 20-minute metta bhavana, 15-minute metta bhavana before Mahamani's talk. So last week I just mentioned there's 3 ways we can work with dukkha. It's all from Rob Berbier's book, Seeing That Frees. The first way was cultivating a holy disinterest. So recognizing that actually, in Buddhist terms, everything is unsatisfactory because it's impermanence. So not getting too attached to either pleasure or pain. So just treating it all as, in a sense, the same. It's all suffering. So in our meditation, just trying to let go and just labelling things as unsatisfactory, whether it's, as I say, whether it's pleasant, painful, or neutral. And then the second way was to really focus on softening the body, softening tightness in the body, which is often associated with greed, with aversion and sort of greed, and that's really the cause of our dukkha. So we're trying to just soften the body and recognise when we're suffering, which often is accompanied by a sort of a narrowness of focus and a tightness in the body. So we're just softening our relationship to tension in the body, to tension around the object of suffering, to our general awareness. And then finally, the last way of reflecting or meditating was just welcoming whatever our experience is, just opening up to our experience, welcoming it, and allowing it. So just maybe saying allowing, welcoming, opening. So we're just sort of again softening to our experience of dukkha, of unsatisfactoriness. None of those methods might work all the time. So you're trying to find a method that works for you at a particular moment, and it could be that none of them work. You know, it could be like if you're not experiencing greater freedom, greater ease, greater satisfaction, then you're doing it wrong effectively. So in that case, you just need to go back to find a different way of working with dukkha, or come back to the mindfulness breathing or the metta bhavana. So that's why in our tradition, we really emphasize metta and mindfulness, just coming back to that time and time again, having that as a foundation for then going on to insight meditation practices. Good. So I think that leads us quite nicely into doing a period of the metta bhavana. So we'll do it for about 15 minutes, and then, as I say, I'll hand on to Mahamani. So I think today we'll do a 3-stage metta bhavana. We'll do ourselves, and then a neutral person, and then expand out into the whole universe. So I'll say a little bit. I won't say too much, but I'll just say a little bit as we go through it. Okay, so starting by just settling into a comfortable meditation position, however you can. So that might involve feeling the connection with the ground. So the contact with the floor. and also the contact through whatever we're sitting on. So the sensation of the buttocks on the stool or the cushion. We can be aware of sounds and just let them come and go. And make sure that our face is soft, so softening around the eyes and the jaw, softening the tongue. So just relaxing as much as we're able to, calming the body and calming the mind. And when we're ready, we can move into the first stage of the Metta Bhavana and begin to wish ourselves well. So in whatever way works for us, it might be through a kind awareness or through repeating a phrase like, may I be well, may I be happy, or imagining a happy time or happy place. So wishing ourselves well. bringing to mind a neutral person, so somebody we have fairly regular contact with but we don't feel strongly averse to or strong attraction for. And just recognizing how we do feel about them, and then gently cultivating a friendliness towards them, recognizing that in so many ways they are very much like ourselves. So why shouldn't I care just so much about them as I do about myself? Or working a bit more in that direction. And then expanding outwards. So bringing ourselves and the neutral person to mind firstly, trying to feel equally friendly, and then expanding out to all beings in your building, if you're in a building, those beings round and about, milling about in the local area. And then expanding ever outwards, so wishing all well. So all beings, wherever they are, may they be happy, all beings on this planet, and even beyond that into space itself. And beginning to draw the practice to a close, returning to the sensations of the body, contact with the ground, the noises around us, and when we're ready, opening our eyes and getting ready for Mahamani to talk to us about anatta.
So, Jared, I wonder if you could just slightly move the light. It's glowing straight at me. Oh, that's better. Thank you. I felt slightly blinded by the light. So thank you. Thank you, Yanadaya, for introducing the evening and leading us through that meditation. I feel quite much more grounded than I was feeling at 7 o'clock, so that was very lovely. So yeah, the title of tonight's kind of session is Letting Go in Meditation. Letting Go in Meditation. And I want to begin with a quote from Ajahn Chah, a Buddhist monk. And it's a particular favourite quote of mine, and I find really, really helpful to read it quite a lot, to repeat to myself it quite a lot. So the quote is this: do everything with a mind that lets go. If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you will have complete peace. I'll just read that again. Do everything with a mind that lets go. If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you will have complete peace. And when I think about that, well, there's something rather wonderful about that, isn't there? And there's something about the stages that if we can just let go a little bit, then we have a little peace. If we can let go a bit more, we have a bit more peace. And I think by peace, Ajahn Chah means freedom, liberation. an opening. And I certainly know that that's in my experience. That can be in my experience. Just as we were sitting there doing that meditation, I was aware then Jana Dyer started speaking. Like I thought, oh, my stomach doesn't feel quite as comfortable as I might like it to. We started to meditate, and I thought, oh, there's a sense of nervousness in my stomach. I'm going to be doing this in a few minutes. And I was just thinking, oh, I can just be with that. I can just be with that and let it go instead of kind of grasping on it, making it bigger. And I'm sure you've all had experiences. So it started to work. It started to kind of just loosen a little bit. So I felt like I had a little peace. And I'm sure we can all think of our own situations, the things we hold on to, we grasp onto, or we push away, which is a form of clinging as well, because we want something else. So there's a kind of letting go in that way, and that's something we're trying to do in our practice in meditation, just trying to let go in meditation. And Jana Dyer just reminded us of what we've been looking at over the last 2 weeks, impermanence and then dukkha, suffering last week. And they can be sources of suffering. They can be sources of suffering if we have a particular kind of way of looking at them. But if we can have a much more open, spacious way of looking at those things, then actually they can be doorways into freedom, into this sense of letting go, of peace that Ajahn Chah is talking about. And I think the same could be said for this kind of third mark of conditioned existence, anatta. Jana Dyer said it's not easy to talk about. I think I picked the tough straw here, the short straw. But I'm going to have a go. So, we can see, so how can we talk about it? So, translated, it's often translated as insubstantiality, or non-self. Now, I want to make a really big statement, first of all. I exist, you exist, people exist. I am not saying that we don't exist, which can be immediately sometimes people's reaction when you say non-self, because you kind of go, oh, I'm here. So the Buddha didn't ever argue that we don't exist. But what he's saying is really that there is the way we think we exist, we don't. That's where the wonky thinking comes in. That's where our suffering, it can be a cause of our suffering because we have the wrong idea about our existence. So instead of going non-self, how I like to think of it, which I think I find much more helpful, is to think of there's no fixed self. There's no fixed self. So I recognise that I have an existence. It's just not the way I like to think of it sometimes, in terms of being fixed and of a kind of fixed essence. And I'll try and unpack that a little bit. And I'm going to do it in 2 ways. There's a wonderful story I came across when I was looking at, how can I kind of explain this in a way that kind of gets across the essence of it, the idea of it. And there's a lovely little story from the Buddha's time of Nagasena and the chariot. Some of you might be familiar with it, others might not. But there's this monk, Nagasena, who visits a king called Malanda. And the king asks him for his name. He says, "What's your name?" Nagasena gave him his name, but then he tells the king that this was just his name and not his real person. That's just my name. It's not the real person that I am. Well, the king's kind of slightly confused by this. By what on earth does this monk mean? So Nagasena asks the king, well, how did you arrive? How did you arrive for this meeting today? He said, well, I arrived in a chariot. So Nagasena asks the king to show him the chariot, and the king points at it. And Nagasana says, yeah, but the chariot is just a collection of parts. It's just a collection of parts. So we can think about that, can't we? It's made up of the seat and the wheels and the axle and so forth. And that's probably about my limit of chariot knowledge. Other things. Yeah. But it's made up of those things. And in turn, those bits that we call wheel and seat and axle are made up of other things and other things and other things. So there isn't a kind of essence of chariot. There isn't this thing called chariot, and it's fixed and solid. Likewise, the person Nagasana, the monk, was just a collection of parts. Just a collection of parts. And the name of the person, the bearer of these parts, he's just the bearer or the owner of these parts. However, the person only exists because the parts all exist together. They kind of come together and become Nagasana for a short time. And then they change again. And Nagasana will no longer be there. Impermanence. It's impermanence. So the point that the monk was trying to make in this story is that there's no separate soul or self that is separate from the parts. Yeah? And if that applies to a chariot, and it applies to the monk Nagasana, then it applies to you. It applies to me. It applies to everything that we look at. The physical objects around us, the people around us. So this is what we're trying to get at when we talk about insubstantiality, that there's this no fixed self. There's no fixed self. And we can start to kind of, if we just hold that as a kind of idea, just kind of, oh, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, we might feel a bit fearful. We might be almost kind of clinging on to this sense of self. But if we can just let go a little bit, like I was trying to let go of my nervousness earlier on, then there's a little bit of less clinging, less fear around change, around impermanence, around the kind of ups and downs of life, of suffering, as Jana Dyer was talking about earlier on. We can kind of step into something more instead of trying to hold on to something. And I think that's where we can have a greater sense of freedom, a greater sense of spaciousness, of openness. We're not so attached to things being the way they are. We're not so attached to things being the way we are. So I kind of was talking there in terms of it in, we could think about that in terms of our own body, can't we? Just as Nagasena the monk was talking about it in terms of his body or of the chariot. But there's other ways that we kind of fix ourselves, that we try to kind of, pin ourselves down. And I was just kind of thinking today, well, how do I do that? What are the ways in which I do it? And I do it in lots of different ways. And I think I do it, one of the biggest ways I do it is in views. I think that I can have quite strong opinions around things. And there is a fixing. Whenever I come out with a strong opinion, I am saying, I am this person. I am the kind of person who thinks this. Read this for me. So I'm doing something around my identity at that point. I'm not saying there's something immediately wrong in having fixed, strong views. They might be very strong values around justice and so forth. I personally think they're important. That's a view I have. But it can stop me seeing other perspectives. It can stop me opening up and seeing the world in, if somebody comes up to me who's got a different view, I can feel myself just closing down a little bit. So we fix ourselves in that way. We also fix ourselves in, when we say, oh, I am the type of person, or I am this kind of person. I was talking to Anna, my good friend today, and I was talking to her about a story that's kind of probably been with me a lot of my life. And even though I know it's not true, I still act from it. And that's a way of fixing ourselves. And the story, I'll just tell you very briefly, is on my school reports when I was a child, the school reports often said, my name was Anne then, Anne could do anything she set her mind to if it wasn't for her lazy streak. I didn't read the bit of Anne could do anything that she set her mind to. I saw the lazy streak bit. So I grew up with a story of I am lazy. I am a lazy person. And somehow I've got to do much, much more to kind of hide this laziness, or else it will just engulf me. And I realise it's a bit of a fixed view I hold about myself, even though I know that if I interrogate it, it's actually not that true. It's not that true, but it's something that I can hold about myself. So we can really hold kind of fixed views and thoughts about ourselves. And that can be a real, that's one of the things that we come up against in meditation, isn't it? We come up against these ideas that can feel quite like, I can't move beyond that. I am this kind of person. I can't do this meditation. I can't meditate. I can't follow an ethical life. Whatever it is, we can kind of come up against these things. And, you know, if we have this kind of idea of everything is insubstantial, everything is non-self, everything is changing the whole time, then we too can change. We can change for the better. There can be complete and utter transformation if we stop clinging to, you know, particular views, sense of ourself, clinging to this body as if somehow it's not changing. It's changing all the time, isn't it? We're completely different people from how we were at 7 o'clock this evening. You know, there's cells in my body that have died and so forth and whatever. I'm not going to get into a biological discussion because that's probably as limited as my knowledge on chariots. But I think that this notion of insubstantiality, if we can kind of just take it on board just a little bit, there can be a little letting go. There can be a little letting go. There can be a little sense of letting go of this notion of a fixed me. Because obviously, if I'm fixing me, I'm fixing you as well. And then we have this kind of self and other. And that's how we see the world, isn't it? We see it from our eyes. You're out there, I'm over here. And what we're failing to see is the interconnectedness of absolutely everything. Everything in the world is interconnected in a really mysterious way, that I find difficult to kind of fathom sometimes. We can see it at a kind of quite a mundane level sometimes, but that really, the fact that everything in the world is connected, everything is dependent on conditions arising and passing away. So those are just some of the ideas that kind of a sense of opening up to this notion of insubstantiality or non-self, this non-fixed self, can kind of give us a bit of a window, a bit of a doorway into. And if we can just be with that a little bit more, I think what we can start to do is to be open to change. We can be open to change. We can start to accept the kind of impermanence of everything. And yeah, we can open up into a deeper mystery. We can open up into a deeper mystery that for me is largely an unknowing. It's an unknowing. And I think that I kind of quite like that. And I just want to leave you with an image, then we'll have a break. I'll say a little bit about what we're going to do afterwards. But I want to leave you with an image. I was talking with my good friend, a few of my good friends in the order yesterday, and Anna Dyer, who's a very good friend of mine, she's down at the sea at the moment, and she was talking about how she had been lying on her back watching the clouds. And I'm sure we've all done that. We've all done that at some time, just watching these clouds. And there was a little bit of a wind, but there were some quite thick clouds, and she was just watching them, and it was just like, you know, initially just looking at those kind of quite thick, dark clouds, there was a kind of substantiality to them. There was a kind of sense of they exist, they're real. But she said she was just lying there watching them, and just like they were evaporating. They were changing. There was this constant movement when she started to kind of pay close awareness. And, you know, if she stayed there long enough, they would have just disappeared at some point. They just disappeared. They were completely insubstantial. So that's a little bit of what we're trying to kind of get at. So we're going to have a break in a moment, but after the break, what we're going to do is try to kind of do something in meditation around that. And then we're going to do that by doing mainly a just sitting practice, where I'm going to just kind of lead. I'll do some guiding on that, so I'm not just going to sit here for half an hour. But I will lead you in, just kind of guiding through the different senses, through the body, through our thoughts and our ideas. And just this invitation to just see, can you just be with it all? Just be with all and let go. So that's what we'll do after the break. It's 7:37 now, so let's have, 7:38. So let's come back at, should we say 1:45? 1:45? Yeah, so 7:45. Okay? Okay, so yeah, welcome back. I hope you had a chance to have a quick cup of tea or glass of water. So yeah, in a couple of minutes we're going to sit down, we're going to settle down, and I'm going to lead us through a meditation. It'll probably be about half an hour. And as I said before, yeah, we're trying to look at this idea of no fixed self. So whether it's our sensations, the sense of our body, the views, the thoughts that we're holding, the emotions that we're feeling, we're just trying to see if we can kind of let go. One way that I find really helpful for this is doing just sitting practice. And I will guide us through that. I'm going to guide us through it all the way. So I'm not just leaving you on your own, as I said, to kind of do that. But I think that what we're trying to do with just sitting practice is we're trying to not do anything in a way. But that takes a bit of work and takes a bit of getting there. But we're trying to develop this kind of a open, spacious, receptive attitude approach to our meditation. And I think that if we can do that, then we can just start to get little glimpses of the way in which that nothing is really fixed. Everything is just this kind of flow. It's just this kind of flow of change, and that there's nothing of any essence. So it's a kind of very gentle way into kind of just looking at this, but hopefully just letting go a little. Letting go a little brings a little peace. So I'm going to read the quote again. So if you want to settle down for meditation, actually, could you pass us a sheet of paper behind you, Jana Dyer? It's actually got the quote on it. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Janet. So just settling down for meditation. We'll have the lights down a little bit lower here, so maybe at home you're also dimming your lights. Just taking the time to get everything you need to settle into your meditation posture, one that is of ease and comfort, that you can relax into, that you can let go. And I'm going to lead us in a body awareness to begin with. So Ajahn Chah, do everything with a mind that lets go. If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you will have complete peace. So if you haven't already, just closing your eyes. My invitation to you is just to start by, let's not do anything. Let's just be. So there might be thoughts running around in your mind. They can just be. Might be an awareness of the body. That can just be. Sounds around you, outside. Just be with them. They're just there, arising and passing away. From that sense of just being, seeing if you can just bring your awareness down into the body. Bringing it down, deep down into the belly, the lower belly. So you're not trying to force experience here, not trying to make anything happen, but just opening your awareness to the sensations in the lower belly. What's just there without you having to do anything? Noting how your lower belly feels at the moment. Maybe it feels soft, relaxed. Maybe it feels a bit tight or contracted. Just noting it, not grabbing hold of anything or pushing anything away. Just bringing a kindly acceptance, awareness to what's there. Extending that awareness to the lower back, the sides of the body, the whole pelvic bone, the buttocks and sitting bones. So this sense of a bowl almost. Becoming aware of the weight of your body on your cushion or chair. Knowing that beneath the cushion or chair there's the ground. It might be a mat or carpet or floor, but way beneath that there's the ground, the earth, supporting you, holding you. And knowing that, just seeing if you can let go of whatever can be let go of. That's tension in your back, your tummy, maybe in the hips. And just a slight sense of holding on. Extending that sense of awareness, of letting go into your legs, so the upper legs, knees, the lower legs perhaps in contact with the ground, the earth, right into your feet. This wonderful sense of connection with the earth, letting go of any holding on, sense of tension. What does it feel like to just let go a little bit? You might be aware of sensations arising in the feet or the legs or the lower belly or back. Can you just watch them? Can you just be with them? without trying to grab hold of them or push them away if you don't like them. They're just sensations arising and passing away, insubstantial. Gently extending your awareness up through your body to take in the mid part of your tummy and back and sides, the chest, rib cage, the shoulder blades and shoulders, the heart area. This opening up to the body, just breathing itself, noticing any habitual response to hold on to the breath, to try and control it. Is it possible to do that? Can we just be with it? Just be with this thing that we call breath, that we've labelled breath. It's constantly changing and flowing. And knowing that, we can just let go. We can just let go of trying to make anything of it or hold on to it. Extending our awareness down through our arms, into our hands, we just open up to the sensations in the hands that are already there. We're not creating anything. And then coming up the arms again, into the throat and the neck. It's often a place we hold tension in our throat. Just letting go. Coming into the head, softening the facial muscles, the jaw a little slack. Having to make no effort at all with the breath. Aware of the scalp, the crown of the head. Just for a few minutes, just going to invite you to Just be with the whole of your body. Bits of it will come in and out of awareness, that's fine. Just seeing if you can let go of any clinging to the body, clinging to sensations, clinging to wanting a particular experience at the moment. Knowing that there's nothing really to cling to. You can just, this sense of just being with awareness. Things arise and pass away. Just sit for a few minutes. And if you get lost in what you're doing, it doesn't feel comfortable, just come back to the lower belly and the breath. If you let go a little, you have a little peace. Now I just want you to, without seeking out, but just if there's any sounds around you, maybe within the room you're in or outside, can you just be with those sounds as they arise and pass away? A sense of letting go. Don't go straining for sounds. If there aren't sounds, you can just stay with the body. Now extending this sense of open, spacious awareness, I hope is starting to kind of develop, and bringing that to your mind. Maybe your mind is already kind of quite calm. Maybe there's still quite a lot of thinking going on. That's fine. Your mind is just doing what your mind is doing. You can just watch it. without trying to push it away or cling on to it. You don't have to identify with the thoughts. They're not you. Extend this to include your emotions if you want, that you're feeling at the moment. Whether it's a feeling an emotion you like or an emotion you don't like, you don't have to attach to it. It's almost just like you're watching it, feeling it. Letting it just be. Letting go of clinging to a particular version of yourself, a particular idea of yourself. What does that feel like? Is there a sense of openness and spaciousness? So when you find yourself wanting to cling on to something, to create a story of something, just see if you can just let it go. Just come back to the body. Changing sensations. Do everything with a mind that lets go. If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you will have complete peace. Just taking the time that you need to come out of your meditation. If you need to move, stretch, bring a little life into the body, then do so. Yanadaya is going to come and join me. And an opportunity to ask any questions. Any comments maybe just about what I was saying earlier on, or the meditation? Did it work for you? Did it not? What's working look like? Yeah. Hello, Yanada.
Mahamani. Hello everyone. very nice to be back. I really enjoyed the talk and the meditation. Actually, I thought the talk was very, very clear. You sort of gave us a good handle on a very tricky subject.
It is tricky.
So I'm interested to see what you made of that, and so I'll pick up questions and pass them on to Mahamani, and maybe I'll say something as well, but I'll mostly be the conduit. So let's see whether we've got any questions yet. Normally it takes a little while for them to flow through.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a. Did you mention the poem's name?
Yeah, it's a quote. So it's Ajahn Chah. So Ajahn and then Chah, Chah. And if you just put in the first line, do ever think with a mind that lets go, you'll find it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So yes, I hope you find that. It's very nice. Very nice reflection. Good. Good. I'll say I really enjoyed your school report mentioned in your talk. There's something about I guess views are very, very strong, aren't they? And very, very I guess they can be pernicious, but I guess they can be for good or bad, can't they? They can give you. But
I think there's something about them that they can feel so real. You know, just like our emotions or strong views or opinions, there's a reality. There's almost like we can feel them. And actually, they're not at all, are they? Do you know what I mean? And it's just that kind of, if we can just start to see that a little bit, just open up to that a little bit, we start to see, do we constantly hold this view? Right. Is that there for all time? And there we start to see it's almost it's a bit like cheese, isn't it, with holes in. You know, the holy cheese, I can't think what it's called, Swiss cheese, isn't it? You know, it's actually not as solid. Things aren't as solid as we often kind of think. It's a bit like pain, isn't it? In your, you know, if you've got pain, if you really are with it, you can kind of think, this is solid pain, it's going to be here forever and it's never going to change. But if we're with it, we can actually see that it changes all the time, the quality of it. There's something about just tuning into that a little bit more.
Yes.
It can be very freeing.
Yeah, I remember what Rabban saying to me about, I think I mentioned last time about where you make something a thing, don't you? Make something a thing, but actually it's always changing. But if you make it a thing, it becomes this thing that has a certain truth to it, or it's like a view into a fixed view.
Yeah, it's a bit like the chariot, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah, that was very good analogy. Got a question for you, from Oliver.
Hello, Oliver.
Okay. All right. So he's saying it's a bit off topic, but I imagine you can answer anyway. So, in Buddhism, are we trying to love everyone equally? Friends, family, partners, strangers, enemies, etc.
Well, actually, it might seem off topic, but in a way, it isn't. It isn't off topic, because the short answer is yes, in a way. And I think that if we can loosen, so I am going to bring it back to the topic, because if we loosen this sense of ourself, this self that we cling on to, and we create our sense of self through my friends and my family, and these are the people that I identify with, and these are the objects I identify with. So if we were able to let go of that kind of clinging, not let go of the loving, not let go of the loving at all, but let go of somehow they are representations of me, they represent me, they say something about me, then I think our love, because I've had that on occasions when I've just kind of got, it's everybody, because I'm not holding on to a particular sense of self, and how other people shore that up in my life. So I think that, what we're trying to do with the metta, that last stage of metta practice, isn't it, is we're trying to equalise it so that whoever we meet, we can be as open to that person. We can treat them with, well, I think you said in your meditation, didn't you, about, you know, the neutral person, they're the same as you, they're the same as me, so let's give them the same sense of warmth and openness and friendliness. Yeah,
that's really good. May I just want to sort of add to that?
Please do.
I think that's the goal, isn't it? Is to equalise and then to develop loving kindness for all beings. Within that, we're always going to have, you know, our friends and family, and only so many friends we can have particular relationships with as well. So it's not saying you can't have particular feelings for people or closer connections.
No, definitely not.
That would be impossible in a sense. So.
But we can meet people with warmth and kindness and compassion. And I think that's what we're trying to open up to and not kind of limit it. And in that, I think there is this kind of a fixed sense of who I am and who are the people that I care about. And we're trying to let go of those those defences, those barriers that we put up.
Yeah, I think that's very good. Yeah. Okay, let's see if there's anything. I know there was. Let's see.
Was there anything else, Jared?
There's another question from Anne.
Shall I do it? There's, so Anna's saying, she found it interesting to letting go of the story. We often build stories within the meditation. I found thoughts from the day trying to form stories. That's quite interesting.
So was there a question
no
in that? No.
It's
just
an
observation. Yes.
Finding thoughts. I had thoughts from the day forming stories.
Yes. Yes. I think I can see myself. I think I can, I don't know about you, but I can certainly do that. I can kind of a thought from the day, then it becomes slightly bigger, and I'm kind of, it's proliferating, and perhaps I'm going over something. And I think it's when we notice that, we are kind of, well, what are we creating here? What are we creating here? You know, it's a bit like something that happens to me when I'm on solitary retreat is I can have whole arguments with people in my head. And they've never even said those things to me, but I'm having a bit of an argument with myself, and I kind of put it on to somebody. Jaret's just nodding away. He recognises it. And we're kind of just creating something that isn't there at all.
Right.
So if we can I think there's something about if we can recognise that, and I think for me it really helps. I always just come back to my body. Just keep coming back to my body. And just seeing if I can just let that go. Let that go and see it for the insubstantiality of it really. It just doesn't exist, does it?
Yeah.
Just creating something.
Yeah. Now, it'd be interesting to know what Anna's thoughts were and what you're doing with them. Like, I'm trying to sort of try and get a sense of that. I'm struggling a little bit, but it sounds good. Okay, so then we've got Debbie saying that was deep. She came across some fear, and she could let it go.
Great.
So it came back, and I kept letting go. So is this a practice that you do for a certain situation, or a regular practice? So is this a regular practice that we do, or is it for certain situations?
I think that just sitting practice is, I think ideally to do this kind of talking about a non-self and a letting go, we'd be on a retreat. We'll have been meditating for quite a few days. We'd have built up lots of metta, lots of positive emotion, and then we can almost like drop the structures of meditation that we might use and just kind of open up into this sense of spaciousness. So I think that that's when I probably do a lot of just sitting.
Right.
Or if I'm being overwhelmed in my meditation, it's getting a bit dry, it's getting a bit too structured. I can kind of just do a little bit of letting go. I think I'm all the time just trying to let go. But I think definitely the kind of you know, we can have periods in the mindfulness of breathing where our mind is just going round and round. So we're just trying to let go of the thoughts gently. And I think the kind of, you know, when, you know, fear might come up, you know, that is kind of, to get back to what Debbie was saying, that fear was actually coming up. And then just kind of, if we can just gently be with it and seeing it, it goes away for a little bit. Oh, it's back again. And then that's what we're saying about, it's not fixed. It's not fixed. There's a kind of insubstantiality to it. And it's almost like we're saying, well, this is just fear arising and fear passing away. This is not me. I am not fear. I am not fear. This is fear. This is what fear feels like. And then it changes. So well done, Debbie, for kind of sticking with that and being with that and seeing it arising and passing away and arising again. That's great.
Yeah, great. Because sometimes we also say not me, not mine, but like not me, not mine. Just so you know, it's good. And okay, wonderful. Let's move on. We've got what about people who, for various and tremendous trauma from the past, experience, yes, it's a question about loneliness, and I guess it's like how do you deal with loneliness? I guess it sounds like a very strong loneliness. Any thoughts? It's a bit of a difficult. It's quite a broad question. Well, it's very specific, but it's also probably quite a lot to say. But maybe.
I mean, there's several things, isn't it? First of all, I'm sorry that person's feeling sense of loneliness, because it can be quite painful, can't it? I think that, you know, metta is really helps for any meditation that we're doing. But to kind of, it's almost like I feel sometimes I'm creating a bowl of metta to kind of contain the more painful emotions. And then, you know, things do pass, things do change. And I don't want to kind of be glib about that. But yeah, and also maybe sometimes there's some kind of things we can do, maybe reach out to somebody. I'm just kind of thinking we're starting to have classes here in person again, and I think that helps. I think it has been a difficult time for a lot of people, particularly through lockdown. So yeah, I haven't got a big answer to that one.
Yeah, no, it's difficult, isn't it? And loneliness can be such a difficult thing. But so yes, it's I guess trying to have as much metta, I guess.
So much metta, and seeing when it changes as well. Is it, you know, if we kind of go again, it's a big label, and I use it myself sometimes. But then I have to kind of go, is that the case all the time?
Okay.
When does it not feel like that?
Right. So having it maybe just being attuned to loneliness, and well, what is it? What is the actual experience of it? Just always changing.
It's a bit like the cloud I was talking about. Do you know what I mean? If we watch the cloud, it's kind of constantly changing or thinning or getting thicker. The edges are all changing the whole time.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not an easy question to answer.
And I haven't got I can't offer a quick glib answer. There isn't one.
Good. We are also we're kind of coming to the end of the class, so I'll just finish by thanking you all for attending a few questions. Sorry we couldn't get round to all of them, and this is the last of the evenings in this series, but there will be other Tuesday classes coming on, and other classes that go on every night of the week. And the week after next, we have a whole program leading up to the Padmasambhava Day Festival. So Padmasambhava is a Tibetan sort of semi-real, semi-mythical figure who's very much associated with transformation. So relevant to loneliness, for example, like very potent figures, sometimes known as the second Buddha, because in Tibet because he sort of reaches very deep into the unconscious and can really helps to transform those unconscious energies. A very powerful, magical figure. So I really recommend you tune in for that series.
Stuart Manus will be back next week. He's going to be giving a talk.
Stuart Manus back next week. And just to mention, this White Show Band is very good and so forth. And then that will lead up to the festival on Sunday, which is Pan Salmon Day Festival. Finally, just say thank you very much again, Mahamani, for a really very good, very clear, I thought, and accessible talk, and a lovely deep meditation, which quite a few people commented on as well. And just finally to say that we do rely on Dharma and donations. We do everything. We're really trying to, what we're trying to, we actually are creating a community. You are helping to create a community, and if you can support financially, that's really appreciated by us. So yeah, good.
Thank you.
I'll say good night.
And I'll say good night.
Yeah, she'll say good
And
night.
good night from me.
And John will say good night. Good night.
Good night.